It doesn't go faster than that, Nige. It does 30 miles an hour. 30 miles an hour. 30, Nige. You can't tell me to do 40. It does 30. I struggle to get 30. 30 miles an hour, Nige. No, your eyes do not deceive you. This is a Citroen. It's called the AMI, as in French for friend. Now, Citroen is known for being a slightly mad manufacturer, and this is its vision of urban mobility for the future. Now, having seen it do the rounds with far more important people in the motoring press than me, I decided to give Citroen a little call, get them to send it down to us, and here it is. So for this video, I'm going to be driving it around Gosport. I'm going to be taking it to a Citroen dealer to see what they think of it, and probably holding up quite a lot of traffic, as you can see behind me. Now, while the AMI might look like it's made out of Lego, and some might struggle to tell which end's the front and which is the back, this is Citroen's take on transportation for the future. Hardly iRobot, but I quite like it. It's typically mad, just like the French manufacturer normally is, and the doors open, for example, in different ways on each side. And it plugs in, and I quote the PR here, like a hairdryer. Anyway, the details. The AMI is all electric. It's got a top speed of a heady 29 miles an hour and an electric range of around 47 miles. You plug it in just with a normal 3-pin plug. It's 2.7 metres long. It's got a turning circle of just 7.7 metres. And it charges completely fully charged in just 3 hours. Now, inside it's pretty basic. There's no radio. In fact, it hasn't even got windows that go down, just these little flaps. You don't even get door handles, just these straps that you have to pull pretty hard to open the doors. There's no air conditioning, no rear view mirror. In fact, you have to work pretty hard to see behind you. It's only got these tiny little dishes that for some reason keep going out of place. For sure, the first time I drove a Twizy around, nothing gets a reaction quite like this thing does. People point, they wave, they smile, they laugh. When this thing goes past, it really doesn't go unnoticed. Now, in France, you can drive the AMI when you're just 14 years old. You don't even need a driving license. In Paris, they're a bit like Boris bikes. You can order them on an app, pick them up from anywhere they are in the city, unplug them, take them for the drive, plug them in somewhere else. And the idea is if they bring them to the UK, it will be something similar here. So what's it like to drive? Well, it's not exactly swift. With a top speed of 29 miles an hour, it gets there reasonably quickly, but once it gets there, it stays there, even downhill like we're going now with a tailwind. Steering's quite vague, and I keep forgetting to turn the indicator off because they don't self-cancel. It doesn't really soak up the bumps either, and these high doors make it quite difficult to see where you're placing it. But saying that, I love the fact it feels a little bit like a go-kart. It's absolutely tiny, this thing, at 2.4 metres. You can chuck it around, and it does feel a little bit like a Mini used to feel. You can throw it into the corners, and yeah, okay, the body rolls a little bit and it bounces around, but still, it's a hell of a lot of fun. I just wish it went a little bit quicker than the 29 miles an hour. I mean, it's quite frustrating. Last time I only had that top speed was when I had a scooter, and even then I had that de-restricted. The inside of this car is incredibly basic, and you can sort of understand that when it costs £5,000. There's a little screen in front of me that's got the speed that I'm doing, the current battery range, and what gear I'm in. I can do that just down here. There's a forward, reverse and neutral button. It's all pretty simple. There's a little mobile phone holder here, and it's got Bluetooth. But on the dash here, there's just 3 buttons. It has a warning light, a fan and a heated windscreen. That's it. It doesn't really need to be much more complicated than that, does it? The seats are pretty comfortable despite the fact they're plastic. There's a couple of sort of nods to a seat pad on the bottom and on the reverse, but to be honest with you, then they are actually pretty comfortable. The steering wheel is pretty vague, but just like the rest of the car, functional, solid, plastic. But I like it. I like that feel. It feels like a Tonka toy, and do you know what? That's quite nice at the moment. So road test complete. I'm just about to pull up a Yeoman Citroen in Fareham. These are our local Citroen dealer. Boss James Smith has said I can pop up and see the team, show them the car and see what they think of it. Citroen hasn't actually decided how they're going to sell this car yet. In France you can buy it in department stores just as you can with a toaster or a mobile phone. When they bring it here, dealers are probably going to be hoping that they can sell it, certainly bring some people into the showrooms. So let's see what they think of it. Now, while Citroen dealers are pretty used to selling slightly unusual cars, the AMI was a surprise even for them. I asked salesman David Stimpson whether anyone had actually asked about it.
I've had a couple of inquiries. People have asked about it, particularly where we are here, because we're not far from quite a very big urban area like Portsmouth, where the maximum speed limit in most of Portsmouth is 20 miles an hour. It's incredibly congested. Something like this would be absolutely fantastic. I think we should have a go in the UK. When you think how popular something like our C1 is, I still think there's a need for small cars. Electric is definitely the way forward, so yeah, I think we should have a go.
I also drove the AMI around to the workshops to see what the technicians thought of it. Chip Florien and colleague Sam Merrick couldn't resist having a good poke around.
Yeah, I think Citroen has got a bit of a name for that sort of thing, so I think their customers would like it still.
The pair even twisted my arm and convinced me to let them take it for an impromptu test drive, and they certainly seemed to have enjoyed it when they got back.
Picks up really quickly the speed, so it's not a slow car, and the range is quite accurate. We done a mile, and it just took a mile.
It was interesting being in the dealership to see what those people are actually probably one day going to be selling it, or the people who are going to be fixing it, actually think of the car. It's nice to see that they were just as excited as I have been to drive it, if I'm honest. They were really enthusiastic about it. Okay, they work for Citroen and they probably have to be, but they weren't really expecting me to turn up. They didn't have a script to follow, and they were speaking from the heart. What they said was absolutely genuine, and I found that over the last couple of days driving this car. The public love it. It doesn't have any ill feeling. People really do like seeing it on the roads and just being around it. So you can't currently buy an AMI here in the UK. Citroen is currently evaluating sales for the two-seater here. If you're interested, let them know. The firm tells me they've had 8,000 people register interest on a website that they've set up. Citroen's UK boss recently told Autocar that he's got a huge desire to bring this car to the UK, but it'll only ever be left-hand drive, and it wasn't actually planned to cross the channel. Now in France there's a number of ways you can buy an AMI. You can rent one, you can car share it, or you can outright purchase it. Rental costs around £20 a month after a deposit of around £2,500. Car sharing options are a little bit like those Boris bikes. They're charged at 22 pence a minute in Paris. What that'll equate to here is still yet to be decided. Citroen's told me they're likely to be a little bit of a price increase over the £5,000 it costs for outright purchase. They've got to make a few tweaks to it, to the lights, etc. So what do I think of it? Do you know what? I actually quite like it. It's very, very basic. It does feel a little bit like a golf cart, with this buttons down here for forward and reverse, and that's about it. Inside it's really simple. I mean, you sort of imagine a convertible one of these, couldn't you? The fact that it's all plastic inside and you hose it down when you're done with it. But I think it's great fun. I think it's a lot better than probably commuting on a bike. Having done that in London for many years, I know how cold it can be, and actually you can't go much more than 30 miles an hour anyway. I love it. I love the way the people react to it. I love the looks. I love the fact it's only going to cost £5,000 or £6,000 if it ever does come to the UK. And I can see why 8,000 people have registered interest. So come on Citroen, do what we all want. Bring this thing to the UK. For more videos like this, you can log on to cardealermagazine.co.uk and click on the live tab at the top of the page. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.